Look at how ghetto this is. We got shoestring because I couldn't find a rubber band. But we chilling against the Blood Maiden. This build, easy. We stand in the AoE, no problem. No problem. Man, I'm waiting to keep turning those in. See, we don't even need to aim. If the monster gets close enough to us, it will aim assist. See, we're still doing damage. I still see the numbers going. We're contributing, don't worry. Now, I don't know about this one. We might actually rip. Ooh! Kind of impressed. Maybe my build is too strong. Look at, we're in the... That was 2 maidens done right there. I can go get a snack, but you guys see, it works. Just HeartSeeker is only button we need. Alright rogues, let's go over one of the best builds in the entire game, and this is going to be great for leveling, especially because, well, you can literally put a rubber band over your controller, or you can go ahead and hold down a key, maybe weight it down, and essentially just sit there AFK and start farming those Iron Wolf reputation points, or essentially level up, because the Helltide is one of the best areas to actually level up in. So for starters, let's go over what has essentially changed and why is the HeartSeeker Rogue the best. Well, there is specifically a passive at the very end of the leveling tree called Victimize, where you're going to be able to have this lucky hit chance apply. And because of tempering, you can get this effect basically doubled. So what it does is it makes it so when you deal direct damage to a vulnerable enemy, it has a chance to cause an explosion that's going to go ahead and deal a bunch of the damage to them, and it gets increased by a % of your vulnerable damage bonus. So you can get this up to thousands of crazy amounts of damage. So HeartSeeker, while it does kind of affect the damage that Victimize will be outputting, it is essentially not going to be your main source of damage. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. So even though it does a portion of that damage, the damage all comes from Victimize. So you'll see these big spikes once in a while. Right now we are still currently like in the leveling process and getting all of our masterworking done in this gameplay. I will show you guys a push variant, but this one's mainly focused in on players that want to go ahead and actually level with this, but it's not too far different from the top rank 1 build that I'll be kind of uploading later, that is going to be more for the pit pushing, which comes down to actually getting a lot of damage bonuses based off of if an enemy is affected by a trap. So for starters, that's like the main difference. It's essentially just that temper that makes this build so good, because you're getting 2 HeartSeekers, because you can have the weapon basically shoot out 2 HeartSeekers. And the reason why the basic skills are so good is because the basic skills in Diablo 4 actually have the highest lucky hit chance in most circumstances. Plus, you have the highest chance on the temper to basically get it to activate 2 different times. So you basically get it once from you shooting, and then the temper gives you another one. So that's why this build is the #1 build for the Rogue. This one's going to be mainly focused in on speed. We'll do a Sigil 100, then we'll do some pit runs, and then I will be also dropping another build that will be more in the pushing department, because that build actually changes up quite a bit, and this one's going to be more beginner friendly for most people, because activating traps against most of the elites, while that is good in the higher tiers, it's completely unnecessary, and this one is mainly focused in on leveling / AFKing, especially in the Helltides. But I think it makes more sense to show off like actual gameplay while we're moving around. So yes, you can completely AFK with this build, but remember, every once in a while the Helltide will be moving, but stay around the Blood Maiden and you could straight up just AFK for the area. It's just absolutely amazing. So for starters, let's go over the skills, then we're going to go over the aspects and kind of the different roles that you want, and then we'll hop into the skill tree and then the Paragon Board. So for starters, as far as the skills go, well, it's a HeartSeeker build, so you want to run HeartSeeker. So you run HeartSeeker, that's our source of damage. And then we'll be running Smoke Grenade to get even more damage, and this is basically just used against the pit boss. Anything else, don't worry, you can activate it whenever, doesn't really matter too much. And then we are running Caltrops for additional chill or crit, it's kind of up to you. And then we're running Concealment to ignore unit collision, but this could be swapped out for whatever. This one is a free slot, run whatever you want. Whether you want to run Poison Trap to go ahead and knock down and get even more crit, or just want to apply more crowd control, that's fine too. And then we run Dash as well as Shadow Step just for our mobility. And then for the specialization, we are going to be running Inner Sight. Inner Sight actually is really strong because it allows us to get initial 25% crit strike chance, and because this build attacks so dang fast, we're going to be able to basically have this up pretty much 100% of the time as long as Inner Sight is active. So as soon as Inner Sight goes up, you'll see within like 1 second we have it, and we can have that maximum free energy for 4 seconds, and then it'll go down for a brief period, and then it'll go right back up. So in theory, it's up pretty much about half the time, I would say, even though, like, you can keep it up, like, as soon as that thing goes and targets something, you get 5% of the normal rate when you don't shoot the target that has the marked on top of it, which is excellent. I mean, it's just super, super fast. Now, as far as leveling with this build, you may want to start off with Barrage because you get a bunch of the free aspects for the season journey for Season 4. And so, if you want to start off with that, that's totally fine, but the reason why this build is so dang powerful is it doesn't need resources. In the earlier stages of any Diablo build, resources can become a problem, but because HeartSeeker doesn't require any resources, it's so dang good. So when does it essentially become online or good? If this is maybe your second or third character, you probably already have a bunch of these aspects, and these are the key ones to go ahead and use. That is specifically going to be the aspect of the Moonrise, the aspect of adaptability, as well as the rapid aspect. Once you get these aspects, you're going to be flying through the content while leveling. The main thing that you also need to get is that temper for the weapon chance for HeartSeeker projectiles to cast twice. When you don't happen to have it masterwork, though, you're going to actually have to craft this on your swords or daggers as well. But essentially, once you get it to actually masterwork hit it one time, once you go to 12 out of 12, in most circumstances, unless you have the most bottom roll, you'll be able to just have one of these rolled. And that is because the basic attack one gives you way higher numbers for the tempering on it. And essentially, that is what you need to kind of get the build rolling. So go do Helltide, just literally get that one temper, throw in adaptability, Moonrise, and rapid aspect, and you'll be just flying through content. You can hard carry, you can go AFK in the Helltides. Just don't stand too close to the Hell Maiden unless your defenses are really good. You can actually run Siphoning Strikes, you can run Undying, because the enemies will hit you, and you just need a small amount of regen if you want to do that AFK playstyle, or essentially basically put a rubber band over your controller. Maybe you can kind of pay attention to something else, and you could still kind of level up in Diablo. That's what I really liked with this build, and we'll also get more into animation canceling maybe in a future video, and I'll probably make a dedicated video because I was constantly getting asked, how do you attack faster than me? And what it comes down to is specifically playing this build on mouse and keyboard allows you to do what's called a force move. You can also do like a force move in direction on controller, but it's not nearly as good as auto force move. So basically you hold down on auto force move and then you just kind of spam on your attack. I'll make a dedicated video because I think it deserves like its own video because it does technically give you more attack speed than you're supposed to get. Whether they decide to patch this in the future, I don't know. But nonetheless, it works as of right now. So yeah, excellent for leveling as well. But as far as the equipment goes, because I said you can level with it, well, you're not going to be able to use a Harlequin crest at level 1. Technically, at level 35, you can use it if you've gotten one, but if you don't have it, it's totally fine. This build can still play, but you definitely want to try to get this. And with the Spark system, it's really easy, especially because this build can literally go into the Helltide and just start shooting. And the way HeartSeeker works and why it's so good is because you already get aim assist with the skill, because it basically homes in on the target. With controller, no joke, you can go from one direction and your character will just 180 and shoot in the other direction because aim assist OP. And so that's why you're able to do it so well with HeartSeeker. You basically get aim assist on controller, and then you also have the HeartSeeker having aim assist, and so that's why this build is so excellent for going AFK with, and you can just straight up farm AFK. But keep in mind, the Helltide moves, you can't leave your computer on overnight, but for the most part, rubber band, you'll be okay. Maybe you scroll on TikTok for a while, maybe watch one of my other build guides while you are sitting there AFK for the advanced version of this build, which is meant for more pushing, that will drop pretty much like in a day or two. I'll be dropping that one. But yeah, HeartSeeker is just so good for that. But if you don't happen to have Harlequin, you can go for something with like a helmet with like life, armor, resistance. You don't really need cooldown reduction in this build, but if you get it, it's no big deal. And then what you do want to try to get is the Umbrous aspect, because we're going to be spamming our marksman skills, so we have a chance to gain free Dark Shroud. Dark Shroud is how we actually becomes tanky in this build. And then Concussive Strikes is going to be excellent just to be able to get even more damage when we daze the enemy. Then we have Aspect of Might for more damage reduction, Aspect of Shared Misery, so everyone's getting chilled, frozen, stunned, all that stuff is all happening at once. And then we have the Aspect of Moonrise, so this is basically just more damage. And then Aspect of Adaptability, more damage. It has this thing where we gain a resource, but we never spend resource, so it doesn't matter. And then we have Edge Masters, because we don't spend resource. And then we have Aspect of Elements, or a Cursed Touch. I'm running a Cursed Touch because I didn't get one of these rolls on my amulet or my rings. You can also technically get it in your gloves as well, but what you're really looking for is that lucky hit chance to make enemies vulnerable. Ideally, you could get it in your ring or maybe in your gloves, but as far as the amulets go, just to keep it realistic, rolling like the +2 exploit, malice, and frigid finesse, good luck. I mean, we're talking billions and billions of gold. To keep it realistic, you're more than likely just going to get like an attack speed crit, and maybe you get the lucky hit chance for vulnerable, or maybe you get one sort of like passive. But to ask for a lot of people to get all of these passives to get like crazy numbers, again, it's like in the billions of gold. Good luck getting that, but that would be ideal, and that one I'm going to reserve for the more advanced super endgame build, because the earlier stages of HeartSeeker versus the endgame are kind of different. There's a lot of differences, and I'm going to make a dedicated separate video for more of the pit pushing variant, whereas this one is more meant for like the speed runs, and again, it's going to ease you in from a beginner standpoint to get there. But then yeah, Edgemaster's elements, but again, our Cursed Touch is going to be really good if you don't happen to have that specific thing. If you have it, that's fine, but remove the elements, throw in a Cursed Touch, you'll get way more damage, because without vulnerable, you're not going to be able to get all of the big damage. And then we have Inner Calm. Inner Calm is really good because it starts getting a lot higher. It basically double dips in the stats because it works off like the previous one. It's so incredibly good. I almost want to throw this on the amulet. It is like so good on a lot of different builds. But yeah, excellent stuff, because even if you're moving, you still get that bonus of the 10%. And then also Rapid Aspect, so you're going to be able to attack even faster. If you are in the leveling process though, Rapid Aspect can actually be swapped with Moonrise. So run your Moonrise in a one-handed like sword, and then run in your two-handed the Rapid, because earlier on, getting that extra attack speed, because you can start melting stuff super fast, you don't need all that damage in the earlier stages until you're basically in the pit. Most of the stuff gets deleted very fast anyways. So that's it for the aspects, and now let's move on to the important things to go ahead and temper and kind of mod on your items. So for starters, the most important thing first off is getting that chance for HeartSeeker projectiles to cast twice. Up until you get the masterwork, you may need to throw that on all 3 of your weapons. Once that is at 100%, you're done. If you happen to get a really good roll and you masterwork it, you could just put it in your two-hander, and then you want to get Caltrop's size, and as well as Caltrop's duration for more of the super endgame pushing. But basically in the earlier stages, yeah, you need to get it on pretty much everything, and that is because you don't have the masterworking done yet. And I wanted to make this more focused in on like, you know, the earlier experiences in this build. And then other things to go ahead and get lucky hit chance, because that's how you get all of your big damage with Victimize. You need that as a randomized, like, you know, chance for that to hit. So, lucky hit chance, crit strike damage, vulnerable damage. That's what you want, and attack speed on like all your pieces of gear. It doesn't need to be specifically all of these in like, let's say the gloves, but try to get those anywhere you can. Again, attack speed, vulnerable damage, critical strike chance, and lucky hit chance. And then the important things to temper on your piece of gear, you need to get specifically a chance to freeze, and then you also want a chance to daze. So daze, freeze are really good. You want at least one of each. Then the other one can be stun, or it doesn't really matter too much, but just get at least one daze and one freeze, and you'll be good to go. That's going to be in your boots, your chest piece, as well as in your gloves and your pants. Yeah, get those chances to like apply a crowd control, and then that's going to be important over there. And then anywhere where you can actually craft the vulnerable damage is really good as well. Get that, and then you can get dash cooldown reduction, or you can get Caltrop's cooldown reduction. Since it's a speed one, I'm going to opt for the dash cooldown reduction, because I actually like to spam that. It just makes things really fast. You can see this is a 154 monster over here, and again, this was like the earlier stages of me like leveling up this build, and this is pre a bunch of the different masterworking that would give you a huge advantage in the game. Now, other than that, there really isn't anything really important to mention. Just vulnerable damage is essentially key here. And then as far as the gems go, sapphires over here, rubies, as well as diamonds, that's going to be your go-to. Remember, vulnerable damage is key. Even though your basic skill is going to be like the main source of what is going to apply the vulnerable damage, that's going to give you a way better value over here. And then now that we've went over the aspects and kind of the important things to roll, let's go ahead and hop into the skill tree. So as far as the skill tree goes, well, it's obviously a HeartSeeker build. So put it into HeartSeeker, put it into all these defensive stats. You need to get Siphoning Strikes if you want to AFK. Okay, that's very key and important here, because this is going to allow your build to actually heal. And then we're going to get extra movement speed here. I really like getting this discipline. This one's optional. Just lets us use it more often. And then Caltrops, you can get the chill, or you can get the increased crit. Increased crit is better in the higher tiers of content, but that one is going to be, again, for a separate video. We want to get weapon mastery, and then dash. I like to get more dashes over here than just getting this. So when we crit a dazed enemies, we basically get 12% additional crit. And then we get extra survivability here with some dodge. Smoke grenade, we just use this against bosses, and then Dark Shroud is really good for survivability. And then Exploit Malice, if you can get these on your amulet to plus ranks, oh, it's great. But again, these are super, super, super hard to roll, so good luck with that. That's why for this like beginner build, I would suggest the other ones that I had mentioned before. And then we have Frigid Finesse because we can freeze enemies, so more damage there. And then we're just getting haste, only 1 point in Adrenaline Rush because you need to put 1 point into it in order to get haste. And then this is what deals all of our damage, that is the Victimize. And don't think that you need like 2,000. You get like 700 in the earlier stages once you're in like the late game, once you're like level 100. And you'll definitely notice a pretty big difference when you start putting more and more points into it. It gets absolutely crazy. And you can get 1,500 if you just start like kind of focusing on it. And if you get like 2,000, man, you're getting some really good master working on it. But like that's to be kind of more expected in the later build that I'll be dropping that is more like min-maxed and perfected here. So as far as the Paragon board, what are going to be the main differences here? So let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. So for the starters, this build over here again is mainly focused more on speed. So we're going to get a little bit more damage and a little bit more HP, but we're going to be sacrificing the damage that comes from the traps, which is essentially what makes this build different than the ones that you may see, which, again, I'll be dropping a more endgame guide very soon on this build. But for starters, we're going to get the Ranger, so we get some extra damage and damage reduction when we have the bow. And then we're going to do Exploit Weakness with Pride. We need all the order matters, by the way, because this one over here increases the rare nodes, which is vulnerable damage. This is essentially what makes your build so strong. And then we're going to go into Cutting Stratagem with Chip. And then we're going to move up over into No Witness on Exploit. And it's important that you put it here because it's the vulnerable one and you want to hit all of the strength nodes. This one has one of the higher strength nodes in the Paragon board for the Rogue. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come back to the Exploit Weakness board, and then we're going to go up. So as the fourth one over here, because, well, actually, No Witness was the fourth one. The fifth one over here after we get Pride is going to be on Cheap Shot Devious. So once we apply all those crowd controls, there's another multiplier over there. We get bonuses to all the magic nodes, so it's bonus to crowd control, and then we get some damage reduction from the slowed enemies as well. And you can also get like slow, so that can help out as well, but we just really needed to get this other Dex one because this one is Dex. And then for the final board, we get later on as Instinct over here to get even more damage with the enemies that are affected by some sort of crowd control, and we can actually freeze in this build. But the more advanced one will get another board, but we're going to have to sacrifice more damage over here. But again, if you guys want to see the one that's meant for pushing, I will be dropping that one very soon. But all the info will be down below in the pinned comment if you need any of the timestamps for any of the things, or if you just want to go ahead and get the planner, it will be there available for you. But like I said, we're going to be making a push variant because the push variant does rely on traps. It is, in theory, more damage, but it's on some sort of condition. And if I wanted to make this AFK build, because some of you guys that were coming to live stream were like, yo, dude, how are you doing this? Well, this is the AFK build. The AFK build is not going to be utilizing the traps because, well, if you're sitting there and you're just holding one button, you could go AFK, or you could literally just hold the one button on your mouse or whatever, and you'll be basically just blazing through, getting so much of the Iron Wolves reputation with barely even looking at your screen, which is awesome. So that's going to be the build for you guys. Anyways, check the pinned comment for all the info, and if there's any questions, let me know down below in the comment section below. But if you guys enjoyed the gameplay and want to see the follow-up for the higher tier in the push build, hit subscribe to the bell, and you'll see it very, very soon. But take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.